ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah
Om
Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So we are on the 124th verse. As you know, we were doing the 15 Angas in terms of Shankaracharya, and this is the last and the 15th Anga, which is Samadhi. So let us chant verse 124. Nirvikarataya vritya
Nirvikar
Vikarataya Vritya
Brahmakarataya punaha
Brahma
Brahmakarataya Punaha
Vritti Vismaranam Samyak
Vritti Vismar
Divismaranam Samyak
Samadhirjnana Sanyakaha
Samadhir
Samadhirjnana Samnyakaha.
So, you know that between Dhyanam and Samadhi in the Ashtangas, there is not much of a difference in the specific nature, right? Different names are given because in Dhyanam there is effort involved, and in Samadhi the effort is not there because of so much practice of Dhyana. It's like, when you learn to drive a motorcycle, for example, right? In the first few months, you are very, very focused on driving, on the balance, on the gears, on the speed. So much of focus is there because you don't want to have an accident. Once you are, say, 1 or 2 years of driving, then the driving becomes subconscious. The effort disappears. So you can think about anything else. You can, whatever you want to do, you can do, but the focus is not there on the effort of driving. So effort is gone. But in both cases, what is being done? The motorcycle is being driven. So this is, in one case, in first case, when dhyanam is going on, it is like that. You are very serious, you are very concerned, and you want to make sure the dhyanam is proper. So lot of effort is taken to concentrate the mind. So when you have sufficient experience in this, then you will find the effort disappears. When the concentration comes effortlessly, distractions are not there. So that is the second part, that is samadhi. The nature is the same, focus. But one is effortless focus, one is focus with effort. So that's what is said here. Brahma karataya vritya punaha. Punaha. Again and again. Continuously entertaining what? Brahma karataya vritti. So Brahma karataya vritti is what? Aham Brahma asmi vritti. Of course, I have to say here that when we say Aham Brahma Asmi, it is not necessary that it should be only on Aham Brahma Asmi, those words, right? What is intended is that all the vrittis, all the thoughts should be about Brahman only. So Aham Purnaha is fine, Aham Nirvikaraha is fine, Aham Akhanda is fine, Aham Sarvam is fine. Anything which you have learned so far in Veda, which Vedanta has taught us about our real nature as Brahman, all the adjectives can be used. And that is the difference between, that is actually a crucial difference between japa and nididhyasana. In japa, what happens is, there is only one nama, there's only one name or one set of words that you can use. So if, for example, my japa is Om Namo Narayana, then The same thought should come again and again. Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Narayana, Om Namo Narayana. That is japa, right? But in Nididhyasanam, that structure is not there. You can take to any one of the teachings which have been given and you can say Aham Nirvikalpaha, Nirvikaraha, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Sarvam, everything. You can even entertain about the Jagat. So the topics in Nididhyasanam can be either consciousness or matter. If it is consciousness, the topic is what? Topic is Brahman. And all the descriptions of Brahman which you have learned are fine. But if it is Jagat, matter, then the topic is what? You can take up any topic, note that it is Mithya, can't focus on the idea that it is Mithya. From Mithya, what will happen? You will come to the Adhishthanam, which is again Brahman. So all these ideas will come under the heading of Nididhyasana. And therefore he says, Brahmakara Vritya, a thought in the form of Brahmakara, thought in the form of Brahman alone. And what is the condition? Nirvikarataya Vritya, without any other non-Brahman Vritti. Nirvikarataya, dissimilar, without any dissimilar thought. Dissimilar means non-Brahman Vritti or non-Jagat Vritti disturbing you. Then, Vritti Vismaranam Samyak. Vismaranam is forgetting. Vritti Vismaranam is forgetting every thought. So here you have to carefully understand Vritti Vismaranam Samyak, forgetting all other thoughts. That other has to be supplied. It is not that you'll have no thoughts. Vritti Vismaranam Samyak, forgetting all other thoughts. When you retain this Brahmakara thought for a long time, then that is Samadhi in the Brahman thought. And that Samadhi itself gives Ananda. Right? So, what is Samadhi? The focus is so complete, the concentration is so complete that I forget the fact that I am meditating. The Triputi is not there. Meditator, process of meditation, object of meditation, all are gone. What is there? Only Aham Brahmasmi. Only the object of meditation, which is Brahman, is there in the mind, not as an object, but as my very own self. So forgetfulness of every other thought, including the body and the mind, only retaining the thought that I am Brahman, that there is no other entity at all. I, Brahman, alone am there. That is Samadhi. Okay. Now, we know from our Yoga Shastra that Samadhi has to be practiced. For long practice of Dhyanam gives you Samadhi. And Samadhi, therefore, is a action. It is a deliberate practice. But from the Vedantic part of view, Samadhi is a natural consequence of deep meditation, of Dhyana. The total loss of your own identity in that focus. That Samadhi, where Triputi is broken, that is a possible consequence of very deep Dhyanam. And Dhyanam is a deliberate practice because Dhyanam we said had effort. And effort means deliberation. Right? Now the question is, a lot of people say it's only in Samadhi that you will really get the benefit of Jnana. So that Vedanta doesn't agree with. You can be a Jivan Mukta without having experienced Samadhi even once. If you have not been able to even once go into Samadhi, there is no problem at all. You can still be a Jivan Mukta. You can still enjoy all the benefits of Jivan Mukti. What is needed for Jivan Mukti is not Samadhi. Jivan Mukti, what you need is Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Once you have got Jivan Mukti, you don't need anything more for Videha Mukti. And when I say got Jivan Mukti, you should very carefully understand. When I have understood that I have always been Muktaha, I've always been free. I was free. I am free. I will always be free. That is Jivan Mukti. Once that is done, one need not do anything more for Videha Mukti. The body will fall naturally when Prarabdha is over. When that happens, it is Videha Mukti. Okay, so this forgetfulness and complete absorption in the Brahman thought, Brahma Akara Vritti, that is what is called Samadhi. And here he gives it a specific name, Jnana Samadhi Sanyakaha. Samadhi is called, this particular absorption in Aham Brahma Asmi is called Jnana Samadhi. Okay. So again I will say that it is not necessary to have Samadhi to enjoy Jivan Mukti. Here he is just discussing the 15th Anga, the last Anga of which we have talked about, the 15 Angas. Okay. Now we will go to the next verse, verse number 125. Imanchakritiramanandah
imam chakritrimanandah
tavat sadhu samabhyaset
tavat sadhu
Tavatsadhu
samabhyaset
samabhyate
vashyo yavadakshanat pumsah
vashyo
Vashyo
yavat kshanat
yavatkshanat
pumsah
pumsah
ayukta san bhavet swayam.
prayukta
Prayuktasam
sambhavet swayam.
swayam.
So the first word has to be broken carefully. Iman cha akritrim anandah. Akritrim anandah. Okay, can we rearrange? Imancha sadhu samabhyaset. All these seekers, imancha sadhu, samabhyaset, should practice abhyasa. Abhyaset should practice what? This nididhyasanam, this focusing on aham brahmasmi vritti with commitment. And what will happen? Kritrim anandaha. Kritrim anandaha. Kritrim means not created. So not created ananda is there. Excuse me, just a minute. Have to. I'm in the class right now. Bolo. No, tell me. Tell me what. Just now? I'll come, definitely. Yeah, okay. Okay. So, Kritrim Anandaha is a new name for this Nididhyasanam, a non-created Purnatva. Ananda is the feeling of what? Aham Purnam. I am Purnaha when things are not going smoothly. Right? I am Purnaha all the time. I am Purnaha when things are okay. I am Purnaha when things are not okay. Right? So, the body has Samanya Prarabdha, which is common to all beings. So there are responses to pain and pleasure, right? That is called Samanya Prarabdha. But the sorrow or, the sorrow associated with pain, that is not Samanya Prarabdha. That is Vishesha Prarabdha. So in and all through all these responses, whether I am having experiential ananda or experiential pain, I will be a person who remembers that I am Ananda itself, I am Purna itself. And that Purnatvam is not based on external objects or things, but it is a inner satisfaction depending upon my own self, which is Brahman. So any joy which is reflected joy, which arises because of an external object, that is called Kritrim Ananda, Ananda which is created. And the moment the object which has given rise to the Ananda has disappeared, that Ananda is gone. So, for example, your husband, your wife, your family, these are all Kritrim Ananda. But there is an Ananda which is natural to you, which is an intrinsic Ananda, and that is called Akritrim Ananda. It is innate contentment arising out of your very nature, Swarupa Ananda, right? And if you remember in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna called this Atmarati. So what do I do in Nididhyasanam? I invoke my real nature as Satchit Ananda and understand that I am that Ananda itself. And for this intrinsic Swabhavika Ananda, I don't need anything at all. And that's why Krishna said, Atmanyeva Atmanatushtaha. He is happy by himself, in himself. He doesn't need any external objects. At the Vyavaharika level, of course, you have to understand that Prarabdha governs you. And that if you are able to get up in the morning and sit in Padmasana or sit in class, and after sitting in Padmasana, if you are able to get up from Padmasana, you have to thank the Lord, right? For the blessings. Our lives are blessed many, many, many times over. The very fact that once or twice a week we are able to come to Shastra, but it's a very great, great blessing. If you look around you, how many people have the good fortune to do this? They may not consider it a good fortune. The opportunity is there, but the prarabdha is not there. The very fact that your prarabdha is able to give you this blessing week after week, month after month, year after year. Many of you have been in this class for years together, and you know what benefit it has given. Your lives are so many times blessed. And therefore, when we sit for prayer, that blessing you should thank the Lord for. But when you sit for Nididhyasana, there is no Saguna Ishvara. You are Nirguna Ishvara. You have to invoke your Purnatvam and own up your Ananda. It doesn't mean that at the Vyavaharika level, you don't acknowledge Saguna Ishvara. Saguna Ishvara is important at Vyavaharika level. The very fact that I can breathe is because of the blessing of Saguna Ishvara. The very fact that I can sit for Nididhyasanam, it is because of the blessings of Saguna Ishvara. So he says, Yavat Vasyo. Nididhyasanam should be practiced until it becomes Swabhavika, it becomes natural to you. And Pumsaha Prayuktaha San Kshanat Bhavet Swayam. That Ananda should come instantaneously. Shanat Bhavet. In an instant it should come. When what? Pumsaha, that person, that sadhaka, Prayuktaha San. He invokes the jnanam in Nididhyasana. So when I am sitting down in Nididhyasanam, the moment I invoke my real nature as Brahman, this original Ananda should be there. It is not experienced Ananda. I should be able to understand I am this original Ananda. And even in the greatest Vyavaharika crisis, I should be able to invoke my knowledge and see myself as the very substratum, the very adhishthanam of creation, and therefore that I am not affected by anything in creation. Right? To give a small example, everybody knows just before they get angry. Do you agree? Supposing I'm going to get angry, there is a fraction of a moment where I know that I'm getting angry. True, false?
Yes.
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 And in that fraction of a moment, what should I do? If my If my nididhyasanam has been good, has been regular, in that split second before I actually start screaming or yelling, even as I am losing my temper, I should invoke the jnanam. The moment I invoke the jnanam, what will I realize? That anger is mithya, belongs to the mithya body, belongs to the mithya mind. The moment I am able to assimilate that instantaneously, what happens? The anger is dropped. So this separation is there naturally. You don't have to work for it. The most hot-tempered of people among us, we always know, if we think enough, we know that there is always this fraction of a second as I am losing my temper, when I know that I am losing my temper. And if you are a Vedantic, that is the time to invoke the Jnana. What happens when you invoke the Jnana? You know that emotions belong to the Anatma and they are Mithya. And if you have sufficient practice, then before the anger bursts out, you are able to drop it. This instantaneous switching, it is called Jnananishta. And if you do this sufficiently, then you will find that the knowledge will be available all the time at the subconscious level. It doesn't mean that you won't enjoy the world. You know, that jnani, he will enjoy the world as much as anybody else. But that jnani, the difference between the jnani and the normal human being is when anger, jealousy, sorrow, etc. appear in the mind, and appear they will, because the mind is the locus for all that. As and when they appear only, the jnani invokes his nididhyasanam, invokes the knowledge, and comes back to samatva.
Acharya, can you just
Please, go
tell
ahead.
us the Samanya Prarabdha and Vishesha Prarabdha the one more time, please?
There is something to which all bodies are subject, right? Pain, somebody pokes you, you will scream. So it's a myth that if you poke a jnani, he won't scream. He will scream probably louder than you. Okay. So samanya prarabdha is things which are common. Samanya means common. Common to all people, all jivas. If you cut off a body, it will die. Cut off his head, it will die. If you cut off a hand, it will bleed. All samanya prarabdha. Vishesha prarabdha is based specifically on your karma. So if a particular event creates pain, does it create sorrow? Sorrow and joy are part of Vishesha Prarabdha because they're exhausting karma. Pain is Samanya Prarabdha. They also exhaust karma, but they are common to all. Your response to Samanya Karma can be one form of Vishesha Karma.
Thank you.
Okay, we go to verse number 126. Tatha sadhana nirmuktah
Tata sadhana nirmuktaha
siddho bhavati yogirat
सिद्धो
siddho bhavati
भवति
yogirat
योगिराट्
tat swarupam na chaikasya
तत्स्वरूपं
tatsvarupitasya
चैतन्यस्य
vishayo manaso giram.
विषयो
vishayo
मनसो
मनसो
गिरा
Tataha. So tataha means afterwards. So afterwards means after what? After getting this jnana nishtha that we talked about, nirmuktaha sadhana. No more sadhana is needed. Right? Because he has achieved what is sought to be achieved. He understood that he is not the body-mind complex. He understood that he is Brahman. So siddho bhavati yogirat. The siddha, the jnani, yogirat bhavati, becomes the king of yogis. Yogirat is yoga raja, yogi raja. So yogirat bhavati, he becomes king of yogis. And why is he called king of yogis? Because he's free from kama, krodha, raga, dvesha, minimized. Free from, when I say, it's minimized. And sadhana nirmuktaha. So if you have to do any sadhana, you are still in samsara. So if you have a guru who you see as separate from you, and then you have the guru has to teach you the shastram. So the guru, the shastram, you are still in samsara. Shastram is used to what? Remove the ajnana. And after getting the jnanam, shastram has also to be removed. Otherwise, there is still duality, right? So this person who has understood that he is Brahman, who has eliminated the idea of Ishvara as separate from him, who has eliminated the idea of the Guru as separate from him, who has eliminated the idea of Shastram as separate from him. What will he do? He has no Shastram to do, he has no sadhana to do, he has no Guru to go to. Free from all sadhana, he is Yogi Raja, which is another name for Jnananishtha. And so he says, Tat Swarupam Nacha Ekasya Vishayo Manaso Giram. Vishayo Manaso. Tat Swarupam. The nature of the person. Which person? Of the Jnani, of the Yogirat. Tat Swarupam. The nature of that Jnani. Vishayo Manaso Giram. Na Vishayo Manaso Giram. Cannot be an object of the mind. Manaso Vishayaha cannot be an object of the mind, nor Vishayo Giram. So there are two things. Na Vishayo Manasaha, na Vishayo Giram. What is the subject? The subject is the Tat Swarupam, the nature of the Jnani. First statement is Na Vishayo Manasaha, cannot be understood by the mind. Na Vishayo Giram, cannot be described in words. Giram means words. Essentially, nobody can understand the mind of a Jnani. Why? Because Jnani for all practical purposes is only Brahman. Brahman only. And Brahman cannot be objectified by words or by the mind. And therefore, Jnani also cannot be objectified by the words or the mind. So this is, after doing this, now Shankara takes up the obstacles to meditation. What are the obstacles which will come in meditation? So we will read the 127th verse. Samadhau kriyamane tu
Samadhau kriyamane tu
vignanyayanti vaibalat
Vijnanyayanti vaibalat
anusandhanarahityam
anusandhanarahityam
alasyam bhogalasam.
Alasyam
So samadhau kriyamane tu. When samadhau, samadhi nididhyasanam, kriyamane is practiced, what will happen? Vignanani ayanti. Lots of vignan. Vignaha is obstacles. So vignanani ayanti. Many obstacles will come, ayanti. And how will they come? Balat. They will come forcibly. So it's not that you have to invite them. When you do nididhyasanam, he says, a lot of obstacles will come by force. And anusandhana rahityam, lack of inquiry. Anusandhanam means inquiry. Rahityam means absence of. That is the first obstacle. The mind is hesitating to enter into meditation. So anusandhanam, inquiry can be taken as meditation over here. So absence of focusing on the object of meditation is called anusandhana rayatyam, lack of focus. That is the first obstacle, difficult to concentrate. The second one is alasyam, laziness. I won't meditate today. Tomorrow morning I will meditate. Today evening I will meditate. You will not straight away go into the meditation state. Third is bhoga lalasam. Third obstacle is that the mind is turned outwards. It is always interested in sense objects, sensory pleasure, entertainment, TV, etc. Right? And that is why, the meditation, seat of meditation is very important, because if anybody is around you, or TV is around you, or objects around you, your mind goes outwards. You are not forced to confront your mind. But in meditation, seat, closing your eyes, sitting in Padmasana or Siddhasana or whatever, there is no option for you but to face your mind. So, sitting in meditation for a few minutes a day is a very, very good way of understanding how much control do I have over my mind. Okay. Now, verse number 128. Layastamascha vikshepaha
Tamascha vikshepaha
asaswadhascha shunyata
rasasvadascha shunyata
evam yadvigna bahulyam
evam yadvighna bahulyam
yajyam brahma vidajan shanaihi.
yagyam brahma vidashanaihi.
Some more obstacles I mentioned. First is tamas. Tamas means tamoguna, and everybody's mind is maya. Maya is prakriti. Prakriti has three gunas. And we know from Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, that sometimes one guna is dominant, sometimes the other guna is dominant, right? The dominance of the guna is a psyche. So this we discussed in Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, 14th chapter of the Gita. How can tamo guna be broken? Which guna can break tamo guna?
Rajas.
Rajas. And what is the methodology of using rajas to break tamo guna?
Activity, action.
Do karma. Rajas means karma. Karma is only which can break tamaguna. And this is the reason why the whole karma kanda is. Because your body is basically from the tamasic element. Tamaguna is very much present, right? And therefore, Veda says that have a whole life where you're dedicated to karma. Because karma will break tamaguna. And therefore, tamoguna is something you don't attack by any other method excepting karma. You cannot tell somebody who is sleepy that you meditate, because he's predominantly in tamoguna. Once tamas has been handled, which means rajas is now dominant, then in the rajasic state, one can take upasana. Shastra says, do upasana. To handle tamas, do karma. Once tamas has been handled, what will be left is rajas predominance. To handle rajas, do upasana. Once upasana has taken care of rajas, then what is left is sattva, for which you can do meditation or whatever. So if you have done all this, if you have done karma and upasana, the karma kanda and the upasana kanda you have left behind. Now you are in jnana kanda. Jnana kanda takes you from sattva guna. Karma kanda takes you from what? Tamo guna to rajoguna. Upasana kanda takes you from rajoguna to sattva guna. Jnana kanda takes you from sattva guna to nirguna brahman. Nirguna brahman. And at guna pitaha. And therefore, everybody who it is what they call taken for granted that if you have come to Vedanta, and you are able to sit in class for hours together, week after week, month after month, year after year, predominantly your mind must be sattvic. So you are basically sattva guna pradhan. Your sadhana chatushta sampatti is complete, or more or less complete. So you are sattva guna pradhanam, and a sattva guna pradhana person is called guna brahmana, right? So ultimately, among the various classifications which we saw in Bhagavad Gita, it means only the guna brahmana can come to Vedanta and benefit, right? And remember that even if you are a guna brahmana, it is not that all your waking period you will be sattvic pradhan. There will be times when rajo is taken over. There will be times when tamaguna is taken over. So Shankara says, tamoguna sometimes overpowers you. Even if you are a jnani, sometimes your mind will definitely be in a state of rajas and tamas. But the jnani knows. Why do you study anatma? Because you must know what anatma is, what are its characteristics. The mind is anatma. The jnani knows mind also has three gunas. Jnani knows three gunas fluctuate. Therefore, there will be times when the mind is rajas predominant and when the mind is tamas predominant, even if he is a jnani, right? So, that is what is being said here. That is what is tamas, the first obstacle. Then layaha. Laya is sleep. So, when you begin to do relaxation exercises or when you begin to meditate, the mind may become sleepy, right? If you sit quietly, relax the mind, relax the body, then our habits are such that the mind says to itself, okay, fine, this is sleep time. And therefore, that habit kicks into being. And this is a natural and universal problem. So, even if one feels sleepy when one tries to meditate, there is no need to feel guilty. You have to just address that problem by doing your japa, by picking up your mala, whatever. Then the third obstacle is called vikshepaha. Vikshepaha means restlessness of the mind, the tendency of the mind to go outwards. And you will find that especially when you sit for meditation, because the mind is not being asked, is being restrained from going outwards, the mind will go inwards, but long forgotten issues will suddenly pop up in your mind. This man called me a donkey 45 years ago. You have forgotten that man is also gone and dead and gone also. But suddenly that problem will pop up. Why? Because the mind is now focusing inwards. That is why. Because the mind is focusing inwards, the entire force of the mind is brought upon your memories. And some memory or other will definitely come. Okay. So this scattering of the mind or this roaming of the mind, that is what is called vikshepaha. The next obstacle is rasa aswadaha. So rasa aswadaha is to be broken up. Rasa aswadaha. Aswadaha means dwelling again and again, getting addicted. Rasaha. So this rasaha is the pleasure generated in meditation. When the mind quietens down, there is a certain amount of peace, a certain amount of bliss, a certain amount of pleasure. And this particular obstacle, Gaudapada mentions in the Mandukya Karikas. So he says that this pleasure which comes in meditation, why do you get addicted to it? Because you tend to think, I am now meditating, I am in contact with my Atmi. Therefore, this is Atma Ananda. Therefore, you get addicted to that pleasure. This addiction to that temporary peace of mind, temporary pleasure which you get in meditation, that is called rasa aswadaha. And it's an obstacle. Why? Because you This is a pleasure which is experienced, a reflected ananda. And you take that reflected ananda as the original ananda. You are taking pratibimba ananda as atmananda. That is a mistake. That mistake can be an obstacle in your jnanam, right? And you must therefore know that any thing which you experience in your mind is caused by certain conditions. Now here, this ananda which I experience, temporary ananda in meditation, is caused by what? Because I have withdrawn from all activity. And therefore it is kosha ananda, pratibimba ananda, belonging to the anandamaya kosha. It is not atmananda. Because atmananda is your own self. It can never be an experience. It is the nature, is my own nature, right? And Ananda, when you say in Atmananda, remember that Atmananda is taken as Anand Ananda, limitless Anand. It is not something which you can experience. It is something which you acknowledge that you are. And if you get addicted to the pleasure coming in meditation, that becomes a major obstacle for you because you will continue to do that only. Well, every time that you want to get some pleasure, you will sit down to meditate. And the meditation will get longer and longer and longer. Ultimately, it is only experienced. This is often what happens with yogis, right? Which is why you find yogis in hours and hours of meditation. They have stopped at the reflected ananda. Then the next one is shunyata. Shunyata is it's called kshaya also. Kshaya. Kshaya means as if the mind is gone, blank, stunned mind, you might say. For example, you receive very, very, very bad news. What happens? For a moment, your mind goes completely blank. You cannot even think, you cannot even do anything, right? Or to take a more, visual example, you open your eyes in the morning and you find a tiger standing on your bed. What will you do? Nothing. Helplessly, you will just sit there wondering what is happening. Your mind is stunned. You can't think. Why does this happen? Because of extreme or intense emotion, right? And here, the Shastra says that in meditation, sometimes because the mind is being focused inside yourself, sometimes a very strong raga or a very strong dvesha or very strong, anger, which is hidden away from you in the depths of your mind, that suddenly releases. Intense emotion is there. And it is so strong that your mind goes into a stunned state. It's called stamba avastha, like a pillar. It can't do anything. Okay. So we have talked about 8 obstacles. Out of them, of course, there are 4 main obstacles out of the 8. One is laya, sleep. And why is sleep a major obstacle? So the reasons are, one is you are suffering from a sleep deficit. So it's called nidra sheshaha. Enough rest has not been given to the body. The body requires certain amount of rest, certain amount of sleep, and that is still deficit. Nidra sheshaha. When that is there, you'll find you're sleepy in meditation. Then bahu ashnaha, overeating. And when you overeat, what happens is all the blood circulation goes towards your stomach, and that because you have to digest, and therefore other places there's not sufficient circulation, and therefore you feel sleepy. Other places go a bit tired out, lazy. The third one is shamaha. Excessive work has been done. Body is physically tired. If the body is physically tired, it needs rest. Meditation is not possible. And vikshepaha. Because of ragadvesha, I see the world as the cause of my happiness or the cause of my unhappiness. I have strong ragadvesha. When I divide the world into objects of raga and object of dvesha, then the focus of my life becomes to acquiring objects of raga and getting rid of objects of dvesha. So this will keep me in this loop whereas I am not able to break that cycle and get into nididhyasanam or meditation. What is the solution? The solution is that the world cannot be a source of happiness or sorrow, right? It is a delusion which I have. How do I know? Because if, let us say, the money is a source of happiness, you will find that all the rich people are always happy. If money is a source of happiness, you will find that all the poverty-stricken people are always unhappy. Is that so? Perception tells you it is not so. Therefore, happiness does not depend upon the world, and worldly things do not give you happiness all the time. So, transcending ragadvesha, understanding that ragadvesha is the problem, is the only solution for vikshepaha. And that is called what? It's called a particular name in Shastram. It's called Vairagyam. Vairagyam is without raga. Vina raga is Vairagyam. And Dvesha is also included. That is one solution. The other solution is, of course, Jnanam. And Jnanam means seeing that everything is Brahman. If everything is Brahman, there is no need for raga or Dvesha. Okay. So that is the first one. Then Rasa Swadaha, we saw. What is the solution? The solution is to understand that reflected Ananda is not Atmananda. It is conditional. It comes and goes. Whatever comes and goes is Anitya. Right? So all the pleasures which I get in Vyavaharika can continue. But I should know that my Purnatvam does not depend upon the Vyavaharika. And therefore this Vidhyasanam or this meditation is not meant for rasaswadaha. It is not meant for experiencing reflected pleasure. But nididhyasanam is meant for owning up my purnatvam, understanding that I am Brahman. And last one, the last fourth one of the important one, shunyata. So shunyata, Gaudapada in the Karika, Mandika Karika says, for shunyata there is no remedy. When that kshaya, that blankness of mind, that stunned mind comes, there's nothing you can do. Just watch. Just be a sakshi. Don't feel guilty. In course of time, it will pass. And this is very important for us because sometimes in case of very, very intense sorrow, time alone is a remedy. Nothing you can do, not all the jnanam will take away that sorrow. So the only thing to do is understand that my mind is under the grip of very strong emotion. Don't take any decisions. Don't curse yourself. Don't feel guilty. Process the emotional state. Time is the only remedy. And so he says, Evam, in this manner, Brahma Vidaha, the Jnani, Yad Vignaha, Bahulyam Tyajam. This Jnani should get over Yad Vignaha, all these various obstacles. How will he get over? Shanai. Slowly, slowly. It will take time. It cannot happen overnight. So the Jnani has to move from being a Jnani to being a Jnananishtha. And that for that he has to do Nididhyasanam. It is not going to happen overnight. It will take a long, long time. Okay, any questions, please? Those four, the discussions on the 8 obstacles and the 4 important ones out of the 8, they are very important. So one should meditate upon them, try to assimilate them.
Acharya ji, Hariom,
Hariom.
from Jnani to Jnana Nishtha, is it not sadhana, or it's a part of the how we put it across?
The sadhana is to assimilate the jnana. As a jnani, I told you earlier, how do you differentiate between jnanam and jnana. So as a Vedantic student, I know that I should not get angry. Do I know?
Ji.
That is jnanam. Do I get angry?
Yes.
Yes. So the day that you are able to drop that anger, understanding that it is mithya, which means the jnanam has assimilated. That I do not get angry has become from, I should not get angry, you have become I do not get angry. That assimilation where it is reflected in your very actions and your thoughts, that is Jnananishta.
Ji Acharya.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
So the
Pooja.
joy of knowledge of Brahman, is there a joy of knowledge of Brahman? And is that different from Rasaswada?
Rasaswada is the peace which you get in meditation. Why do you get the peace? Because you are withdrawn from all activities. Your mind is quiet. Therefore, you are not being worried. So there's a peace. That is Rasaswada. That is reflected Ananda. It is not original Ananda.
Acharya ji, is sleep or laya always an obstacle, or only when it is nidra shesha?
Under the nidra shesha. Otherwise, you need sleep to get your body into shape.
Yeah.
So, in fact, those of you who are, leading disciplined lives, I'm sure all of you are, but those of you, for example, go to sleep at a particular time, slightly earlier, and then get up early, you will know that your sleep breaks without a phone, without a alarm. For those people, Nidra Sheshaha is not there in the mornings. That's why I say Brahma Muhurat.
And
Any
Acharya
fun?
ji, been wondering about the origin of this word Nidhi Dhyasanam, which we use so very often.
It's basically a technical word used to, indicate that you are trying to internalize whatever knowledge you've got. And basically, when you say Nidhi Dhyasana, it's specifically only internalizing Aham Brahmasmi or Jagan Mithya.
Ji. Thank you.
Okay, we may have time for one more verse. Let's try if we can finish that. Verse number 129. Bhavavritya hi bhavatvam
Vritya hi bhavatvam
Shunyavritya hi shunyata
Shunya vritya hi shunyata
Brahmavritya hi purnatvam
Brahma vritya hi purnatvam
Tha purnatvam abhyaset.
Tatha purnatvam abhyaset.
So we know that Yoga Shastra says Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Remove all the vrittis from the mind. But here Shankaracharya says Brahma Vritya hi abhyaset. You should practice Aham Brahma Asmi. It should be there in your mind all the time. Why? Why do you say that? Because the type of vritti indicates the type of meditation. So Bhava Vritya, if your vritti is concentrated on a bhava, bhava here means object. So you can say any object, a rose, a person whom you love, a wife, your husband, your child, right? Bhavritya hi bhavatvam. So bhavatvam here indicates that you are focusing on an object, which is a limited entity. And if you focus on a limited entity, if your thoughts are always centered on a limited object, a limited body, a limited mind, then you yourself will become a limited entity. So bhava vritya hi bhavatvam. Depending on the object of your concentration, you will also acquire a similar nature. If the object of your concentration is finite, you will also be finite. Then shunya vritya hi shunyata. If the mind is got shunya vritti, no vrittis, blankness, then you will end up in blankness. So this is a reference to Buddhists who believe that shunyata is satyam. Shunyata, however, is not purnatvam. It is blankness of the mind. Then Brahma vrittyahe purnatvam. Brahma vritti alone will give you purnatvam, because by stilling the mind, you can get relaxation and reflected ananda. But purnatvam comes only with aham brahma asmi vritti. And therefore it says tatha purnatvam abhyaset. Therefore practice brahma vritti. Don't focus on object, bhava vritti, or don't focus on blackness, shunya vritti. Neither can give you purnatvam. Brahma vrittya hi purnatvam. Purnatvam comes only from focusing on the fact that you are Brahman and that you are Purna. To sum up, Nididhyasanam, the fruit of Nididhyasanam is an ananda which is not produced. It's not an event. It is your own nature. It is not experiential pleasure. It is your own nature. The sense of completeness or fulfillment, that is the phalam of Nididhyasanam. So if Brahma Akara Vritti is there, then I will enjoy Brahmatvam. Right? So gaining Brahma Jnanam is the goal of all these sadhana, and it is through that Brahma Jnanam which I have gained through Shravanam and Mananam, and doing Nididhyasanam on that Brahma Jnanam is what is called Jnananishtha. Therefore, Purnatvam Abhyaset. Constantly practice this Brahma Vritti, Brahma Akara Vritti, which is otherwise called Nididhyasana. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions?
Om Acharya.
Yes, please.
Verse 126. What does this word Chaikasya mean?
Sha Ekasya. And one
Oh.
only.
Oh, thank you.
So with this, we'll stop for today. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank
Om
you,
Om.
Acharya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya ji.